Hello there, everyone. How are you today? Let's make sure we're all situated here. Mm, So glad to be here with you today. Truly, if you live anywhere near Texas, just Texas in general, not just Central Texas, but if you live anywhere near Texas, you know that we were under a pretty nasty ice storm last week, literally for like 4 days, and there are still tons of people without power. So keep them in your thoughts. But I'm glad to be able to say that I'm here de-thawed and ready to go for the week. If you're joining for the first time, welcome to Coffee Time Career Chat. My name is Patricia Hayes, and my role here is to serve as your facilitator to discuss all things that can affect you and help you in your career, not just your job. That's something I like to talk about a lot, but that can help you with your career, and the idea of when people would just call and say, "Hey, can we go have coffee and talk through maybe some issue they might have in their career, with their job, different things like that, just professionally." And we're going on, I think year 4 or 5. I can't remember. It's been a while though, and super excited about it. And who I am, what I do is I'm an attorney by training who provides executive advising, career empowerment coaching, and serves as an authentic networking strategist to help people leverage one of their most valuable resources, their professional relationships, in their career, to do so authentically and with purpose, as they grow, right? And to do it in a very aligned fashion. So all that means is I love helping people who are trying to move forward and achieve their goals to do so to the best of their ability, in a very specific and strategic way. So today we are talking about one of my favorite topics. Um, since I did a whole like week long course on it 2 years ago now, but it's respecting and developing diversity in your professional relationships. And this is one that's really near and dear to my heart, not just because we're talking about networking in general and building those professional relationships, but also about the lack of diversity in our professional relationships. Now, here's the thing, because most people, when I say those words, are going to go focus in on diversity and think I'm only talking about in terms of um, ethnicity, race, religion, those types of things, right? And am I including those things? Absolutely. But it is so much more expansive than that. So if you'll stick with me, we'll talk a little bit about that throughout the course of this session and what that looks like. And I also will invite you to DM me, or I'll put the link in if you're interested in getting the pre-recorded version of the 5 day diversifying your professional relationships course that I did live. Some, like I said, I think it's been almost 2 years ago now, but all the content is there, raw, ready to go, worksheets, all of that. Okay. So if you're interested in that, let me know and I'll remind people again at the end. So here we go. One of the first things that we have to make sure we remember when we're talking about um, our professional relationships is not, most people go straight to how many people do you know and what do they do and all of that. The what do they do plays into it a little bit here, and we'll talk about that, but it's not about how many people. It is not about quantity. It is always about quality. So if you ever hear me talking about professional relationship building, it's always going to be focused on the quality part, not the quantity, because you can have a handful of people who are real powerhouses who can help you achieve some things. Okay. So that's one of the things I always want to reassure people. It's quantity over quality, and how that is so much more important than virtually anything else. This is why I'm anti, going to events and collecting a bunch of business cards only to let them sit there on your desk or end up in a trash can somewhere, because most people don't go about it properly, right? I would much rather sit and have 5 in-depth conversations with people in an event and know that I can follow up with them and have some really serious, involved conversations than to take home 50 business cards of people that I barely know. Okay. Now, is there a time and a place for kind of that speed networking, quick connecting? Absolutely. But it should not be at the core of your professional relationship building. It is not at the core of your strategy for building those relationships. Now, that said, let's talk about first what the value is for having a diverse relationship, professional relationships. And let's step back even more than that. What am I talking about when I'm talking about diverse? Well, we're talking about more than just, like I said, ethnicity, race, religion. I'm talking about things broader than that. We're talking about geographic, right? Where do people live? um, not just in your city, but in your region or state or country. Okay. We're talking about, what do people do? Are they all engineers just like you in a small sector? Or are there some entrepreneurs and some lawyers and some accountants and some creatives in your network? Okay. I'm talking about uh, diversity of experiences, right? Is everyone only having worked a 9 to 5, gig for 10, 15 years? Or do you have some folks who have, like I said, jumped out and tried to be an entrepreneur, or people who have taken extended sabbaticals and traveled the world, right? I want you to approach this concept with a much more expansive mindset. That's really the deal. Expand your mindset when it comes to this, um, because what is of value is the fact that when you come in contact with someone and that curiosity is piqued, and you are like, hey, I wonder, about this person. Like, I wonder where they've been or what they're doing, or let me get to know a little bit more about them. The value is in having that level of curiosity and being willing to uh, to take the next step with not really knowing, right? There's a little risk involved, and I've never really talked about it in this framework, but it's totally appropriate. There is some risk involved in um, reaching out to people who do not look and sound like you. There is. And that is the reason why many people don't or won't, right? That's outside their comfort zone. They're not really sure what to do or how to handle themselves, right? But here's the thing, where there's big risk, there's big reward. And when you are willing to expand your mindset and to take a leap and to get to know and invite, or come in contact with people who don't look and sound like you, the value can be so immense. There's so much room for opportunity, not in a negative way, but opportunities to learn, to grow, and develop, right? To develop in ways you might not have seen possible. So what am I talking about? All right, so let's use economic diversity. I didn't mention that one, but that's another one. All right, let's talk about economic diversity. If you only operate with other folks who are, middle class, live in the burbs, um, everyone, kind of lives in the same kind of house, kind of do the same type of thing, all of that. Well, then that's, I'm not, that's all fine and dandy, right? Hello, I've been a middle class girl most of my life, right? However, if you have millionaire dreams, but your neighbors are not millionaires, you're going to have to get outside that comfort zone in order to get there. And what does that mean? It doesn't mean you go overextend yourself and go put yourself in a neighborhood that's full of quote millionaires, right? Someone needs to go read the book, The Millionaire Next Door, because that blows that theory away. However, it does mean that you would need to put yourself in spaces where you can be exposed to more people who are um, raising and making money. Bottom line, right? Maybe you're going to more business settings. Maybe you're going to an entrepreneur or business incubator event. Um, Maybe you're joining an association or a group that helps to sponsor those folks like that. Whatever, okay? The point is, you only get there if you are willing and able to get out of your comfort zone. That's really what it's true about. The truth. You have to get out of your comfort zone. And when you get out of that comfort zone, the thing is, it's so fascinating what you can learn about other people, who they are, what they do, what their backgrounds are. Because so many times the issue is we make assumptions about who people are based on what we see right now and today. And who they are right now today could look absolutely nothing like what they were 5, 10, 15 years before. Heck, in today's world, it can look totally different from a year ago. Okay. So don't go in making assumptions about who people are and what they do. This is part of that having your mindset letting it be open and expansive to what you may find or be curious about. Because when you get to some depth and you learn people's backgrounds and you learn people's stories, that's where the real connection happens, right? And again, this is why I get to quality over quantity, because it takes time to be able to get to know people that way, to explore those things, and to figure out where the connection may be so that you can be mutually beneficial to each other moving forward, right? Networking is not about going to the happy hour and getting drinks. That is such a surface level version of networking. Let me say it, that can be networking. It is not building relationships most of the time. Okay. When you're building relationships, that's going several layers deeper and being very purposeful about what it is you're doing and how you're going about it. That's the thing that I always want to make sure to remind people. My notes keep closing up on me. All right. So when you're going to start thinking about how can I diversify my network, absolutely include all of the normal DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, types of thoughts, right? Where we're talking about making sure we're involved and engaging, and not in a superficial way. Nobody likes to feel used, right? Um, uh, to fill a quote, just to fill a slot. However, it's more about learning about other people, where the level of connection is and can be, and how you can support each other in achieving your goals, right? There are people in my professional network, that I may only see or talk to a couple of times a year. But that doesn't mean that the relationship is not genuine, or that it can't be picked up just like that, because it can be, right? It happens all the time. But that's because of the work we put into it at the beginning, whether we worked on projects together, whether we supported each other in leadership roles, whether we worked together in some community fashion. I mean, literally just 2 weeks ago, one of one of my colleagues and friends from ages ago. We met years and years ago through a professional association for young professionals, for young Black professionals. And that's where I remember us meeting. And he was much older than I was. Um, and but we had this whole group. So, and all of these folks that I followed behind, they were mentors, right? And this is someone that I have reached out to on occasion when something came up regarding the arts, because my daughter, it's an arts girl, right? And so I would reach out to him because that's his area of expertise. And then just literally, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, he reached out because he saw someone in my network and to ask me, he's like, "Hey, have you actually used this person's services? Because I'm looking for someone like that." And I was like, "Oh, hey, good to hear from you. No, I haven't, but let me know if you do, and I'll because I'm looking for someone in that field as well. So that would be great." Out of the blue, we stay connected on social media. We check in every once in a while, but this is not someone who I see every week, every month, not even, a couple of times a year, maybe. This is what can happen. Something as simple as confirming whether someone in your network is a service that you've used, all the way to, "Hey, can you help me with helping my kid get this essay done?" I've had that happen as well too, right? It's not always just about work. This is another piece of that value aspect when you diversify your relationships. Because when you learn more about people, you learn more of their backstory, you learn about their family, you learn about their interests, you learn about their community involvements. It's the whole picture, not flat Stanley, like I always like to say. It's about when you start learning more about the whole person and the multi dimensions of that person, man, that really gets some depth to it. And it helps you to be able to realize that, like, "Oh, hey, I didn't realize Patricia had that interest, but there's someone else I know, and I think they need to meet." I get that. I get that all the time. I've got a couple, I think, in my inbox now where someone's like, "Hey, I wanted to connect you to, because I think there's something there for you guys to explore." Okay. But how can they even think that? It's because we've spent time together, we've talked, we've engaged, and they're like, "Hey, I think there may be something a little bit more." All right. So we've talked a lot about the mindset piece because it's really big, right? We've talked about the different ways that you can look at in diversifying your professional relationships economically, geographically, professions, right? Ethnicity, race, all of those things, of course. Um, and when you're doing it, you must be deliberate. And when I say be deliberate and strategic, be deliberate and strategic not because you're just trying to diversify the people you know just for the sake of it, right? People feel that and they will know when there's a lack of authenticity involved. But if you're doing it because you're like, "You know what? I really do need to get with more people who are on the same track with trying to achieve this $1 billion goal," right? And that means engage with people on a whole other level. This has been something that's really been, at the forefront for me when it comes to dealing with business is like, you know what, you've got to start up leveling. And that means you've got to start hanging out, finding some people who are doing that same type of up level, right? And so exploring that. And, the last couple of years have been really useful to that because we were virtual for so long, and so I now have this network of people across the country and internationally that I just never even thought would have been possible. Right. Like, I literally know that if I went to Canada tomorrow, I have like a whole bunch of people who I could go visit, not just visit, but they're like, "Hey, you need me to set up the room because I'm coming, if you're coming, like, let us know." And that, I have a great friend and coach who's in Australia, and we're working through, making that trip happen with our little coaching group, with our mastermind group that's been going on there. There's folks in Europe that I've connected with. I mean, they're just all over the country, all over the world, that I know I could reach out to bounce ideas off of, to talk about what are they doing in their business regarding certain things, right? And who are traveling, they're like, "Hey, I'm going to be in your part of the world, during this time period. Hopefully we can catch up." Those are fantastic, right? I got another one about that. Someone's going to be headed this way, and they're like, "Yes, we need to connect," right? The value in those relationships, I just can't even put words or dollars to, because that's not just about today and needing something today. It's about moving way into the future and working to sustain those relationships and that growth over time. Okay. Um, so you want to be specific and deliberate, and one of the easiest ways to do that, or to think about that, is if there is an area in your life or career that's underdeveloped, right? So let's go with that one first. That's underdeveloped. So let's say there's something you've been wanting to do, but you haven't done it yet because you really haven't, put the time or the effort to it. So let's talk about, for me, let's just say, writing. I've got a couple of different writing projects that have been hanging around for a minute, and I really need to, get them going, right? Because it's something I really want to do. So one of the things I've done to support that is to, again, while I'm talking to folks, and letting people know who and what you want to do, who you want to meet, what you want to do, and or so that they, again, because it's the whole point of having professional relationships and a network, is those people will do the work for you. Like, they will literally go find people for you and send them to you. Like, that is what has happened. I've mentioned that in passing in several coffee chats. They're like, "Oh, hey, I know this person who does this. I know this person who's a book coach. I know this person who does a writing group. Cool, thank you so much." So that I can gather that information and take action on it, as the time approaches for me. So that's having someone else do it, but then I can do it as well, right? By saying, and listening and watching and saying, "You know what? I need to reach out to this person because they have written a book. They are working on a writing project I heard, through the grapevine. So maybe, I would love to set up time to chat and talk with them, right? Figure out some things that they're doing, see if there are some things that I can learn that I don't know yet." Okay? So that's one strategy. The other strategy is the complete opposite, right? Let's say you've got the area where you're underdeveloped and you need more support as you grow and learn in it. Let's say if there's an area that you're really gung ho about, that this is your primary, goal for the year or over a period of time. And so you really need to get things going, or even get to the next level, right? So that's another factor in which you can reach out and be specific about reaching out to someone. Um, when in something personal in your life, if it's in your plans to travel internationally, for example, to a specific part of the world, then reach out to people with that. This is how you start expanding. When you're sharing and exploring, then people are going to share and explore with you as well, and it just snowballs and it grows, right? So think about that when you are looking to diversify your relationships in whatever way it is, about being strategic and deliberate about your actions in a very genuine way, and making sure that you are willing to put in the time in order to do it. What do I mean? Again, this is a reminder, this is not transactional professional relationship building. Transactional networking is when you talk to someone and you're like, "Can they help me or not right now?" And if the answer is no, then you're like, "Okay," and you move on. That is not what we do. right? We're talking about relationship building, we're talking about relational networking, and that means being willing to put in the time to do the relationship building. Now, sometimes people aren't willing to do that on the other side. Fine and dandy. That's when, yes, absolutely, you can move on, but it's not because of your intent. It's because of their intent and they're not willing to engage or whatever. Everyone's not going to be there, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't reach out to try. Reaching out to try is the piece that can be of so much value. All right. So talk about a few of the dangers of ignoring your diversity, diversifying your and making sure you're respectful, right? Because I did say making sure you're respectful of not just excuse me, not just your relationship building at first, but others. Okay. Don't be judgmental. Don't sit in judgment of what someone else is doing because you don't know what they're trying to do. Unless you've had a full-blown conversation, because sometimes you can be curious about it. Now, I will do that because I'm that person. I'm going to sit back and I'm gonna like, so what is really going on there, right? Because I'm like, what is it? Because I'm always looking to figure out what I can learn from the experience. Okay. But that's different than sitting in judgment of like, I don't know why they're doing that. That's dumb. Or I don't think they should be doing that. Well, you don't know what their goals are. And so don't sit in judgment, but rather say, I wonder if I should have a conversation to see if there's something I can do to support them. All right. Um, and it can be challenging, right? Because sometimes everyone's not going to be willing to reciprocate in those efforts. That's fine. Sometimes things don't go exactly as you'd like as far as you're exploring. That's fine. That doesn't mean you don't do it. Okay. The dangers of not doing it is if you end up with a relationship set that's homogenous. Everybody looks the same, sounds the same, does the same thing, goes to the same place. That becomes boring. If that's what you want, okay. However, if you're really trying to grow as a person and as a professional, you must know how to diversify the people around you at varying levels because that's what our world looks like. Sorry to have to tell you that. Our world is not one homogenous group of people, right? It's definitely a gumbo. So if you want your family your professional relationships and your career to be vanilla, then that's your business and you can do that and you can ignore everything I said and you don't have to listen anymore. But if you don't want vanilla, you want, that what is it? That cookie dough with all the chips and the nuts and all that kind of stuff. I know I just switched analogies, whatever. But if you want a more diverse group of people around you to learn from, to push you, support you over time, not just today, then this is the thing to do. All right. Okay, that's it. That's a lot. There's so much more. And if you're interested, like I said, there is an entire 5-day workshop that I did that is pre-recorded. It is you can register and purchase it. Just DM me if you're interested and or check the link. I'll make sure it's on the link in my bios on the link tree bio. All right. It's called Diversifying Your Professional Relationships. Okay. So that's it. Have a fantastic week, everyone. If you have any comments or questions about this, let me know. Absolutely would love to hear from you. And also do not forget that the audio course is coming. We are planning for it for the end of this month to get started. So if you want to make sure that you are building out your career plan and developing it for success in any economy, you need to come check out the Empower Your Career 5-week audio course. And you can DM me for more information on that as well. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.